For most of my life, my older brother treated me like a walking reminder of what not to become. If there was a family gathering, he was the success story everyone wanted to hear about. If there was a holiday dinner, he somehow found a way to mention his latest business deal before dessert arrived. He drove expensive cars, wore expensive suits, and hired people whose entire job seemed to be telling him how brilliant he was. Meanwhile, I was the guy who still forgot where he left his keys. So when our late father's old property became the center of a legal dispute, nobody was surprised when my brother immediately declared ownership. According to him, the land had always been meant for him. According to him, Dad trusted him more. According to him, there wasn't even a debate. The rest of the family practically nodded before he finished speaking. I disagreed. That was enough to start a war. Within a week, my brother had hired one of the most famous attorneys in the sector. The man appeared on legal talk shows, charged ridiculous fees, and apparently hadn't lost a major case in years. My brother couldn't stop talking about it. At a family dinner, he stood from his chair and lifted a glass. To easy victories. Everyone laughed. Then he looked directly at me. You still don't have a lawyer, right? I shrugged. No. The grin on his face widened. No lawyer? You're finished. The table erupted with laughter. Even my aunt nearly choked on her drink. I kept eating. That seemed to annoy him more than any argument could have. Across from me sat the only person who wasn't laughing. My girlfriend quietly watched the spectacle with amusement sparkling in her eyes. She wasn't human. Technically, she belonged to a species that had joined Earth's alliance a few years earlier. While humans were still figuring out interstellar politics, she'd somehow become fascinated by human family drama. She claimed our species was more entertaining than any alien television show. Watching my relatives, I couldn't disagree. Later that evening, after everyone else left, we sat together outside. You seem unusually calm, she said. I'm not calm. No. I'm confused. She laughed. What's the difference? I know I'm being sued. I know my brother thinks he's already won. Beyond that, I have no idea what's happening. She leaned against me. Do you have anything that can help your case? I thought about it. Maybe. That answer earned another laugh. Maybe? Dad left me a box full of old paperwork. Important paperwork? I honestly don't know. What kind of documents? I stared toward the house. Mostly papers I never bothered reading. She shook her head. Only a human could accidentally prepare for a lawsuit by ignoring paperwork for 20 years. That's my special talent. The night before the hearing, I finally gathered every document I could find. The problem was that I didn't own a briefcase. I didn't own a filing cabinet either. The only thing available was an old grocery bag sitting in my kitchen. So I stuffed hundreds of papers into it. Receipts. Letters. Property records. Random notes. Old photographs. Half the bag looked important. The other half looked like recycling. The next morning, I walked toward the courthouse carrying that grocery bag while people in expensive suits streamed past me. Then I spotted my brother near the entrance. His tailored suit probably cost more than my monthly rent. Standing beside him was his celebrity lawyer. They looked confident. They looked prepared. They looked like men expecting an easy victory. My brother noticed the grocery bag in my hand. The smile spreading across his face was so large it probably hurt. And for the first time, I started wondering whether bringing my entire legal strategy inside a grocery bag had been a mistake. The courthouse looked less like a place of justice and more like a theater preparing for opening night. People filled nearly every seat, whispering excitedly as they waited for the hearing to begin. Word had spread quickly that a famous attorney was handling the case. Apparently, watching wealthy people argue over property was considered quality entertainment. My brother certainly treated it that way. He walked into the courtroom with the confidence of a man arriving at an awards ceremony. His expensive suit looked freshly tailored, his shoes practically reflected sunlight, and he carried the kind of smile usually reserved for lottery winners. Following him was his legal team: 3 assistants, 2 paralegals, 1 celebrity attorney. Together they looked like an invasion force. Then there was me. I walked in carrying a grocery bag. The contrast was so ridiculous that several spectators laughed before I even sat down. My brother noticed immediately. "Oh good," he said loudly. "You brought your entire defense." More laughter followed. I looked down at the bag. At least I remembered it. A few people chuckled. My brother didn't. Across the room, my girlfriend sat in the gallery. She gave me an encouraging smile. Her species had mastered faster than light travel decades before humans, yet she seemed endlessly fascinated by simple human stupidity. Today she was getting front row seats. The hearing began. The celebrity attorney stood and launched into a presentation so polished it sounded rehearsed 100 times. He spoke about property law, inheritance law, historical ownership rights, tax records, boundary disputes, legal precedents. At one point I honestly wasn't sure whether he was speaking English anymore. The judge listened carefully. My brother looked thrilled. Every few minutes he glanced at me as if expecting me to surrender. Unfortunately for him, I didn't fully understand enough to know when I was supposed to panic. After nearly an hour, the attorney finished. The courtroom seemed impressed. Even I was impressed. I had no idea what he'd said, but he sounded very confident saying it. The judge finally turned toward me. "Do you have anything to present?" I stared at the grocery bag. "Probably." That answer generated another round of laughter. I began searching through the mountain of papers. The process was not graceful. An old grocery receipt fell onto the floor. Then a restaurant coupon. Then several photographs. One paper turned out to be a shopping list written by my father years ago. The judge rubbed his forehead. My brother looked like Christmas had arrived early. Meanwhile, my girlfriend was trying desperately not to laugh. I could see her shoulders shaking from across the room. Finally, buried near the bottom of the bag, I found a folded document I vaguely remembered seeing years earlier. It looked old. Important, maybe? At least more important than the grocery receipt. "How about this one?" I asked. I handed it to the judge. The judge passed it to the celebrity attorney for review. The lawyer accepted it with a bored expression. Then he read the first page. His smile disappeared. He adjusted his glasses. "Read it again." Turned the page. "Read it a third time." The color slowly drained from his face. The transformation was so sudden that even my brother noticed. The attorney's confident posture vanished. A bead of sweat appeared near his forehead. He flipped through the pages again. Then again. The entire courtroom became quiet. For the first time all morning, nobody was laughing. Finally, the attorney looked directly at me. His voice sounded completely different now. "Where exactly did you get this document?" I blinked. "Honestly?" "Yes. I found it in a box in my garage." The attorney stared at me as if I had just informed him I'd discovered a live grenade in a cereal box. And somehow, everyone in the room suddenly looked a lot less confident than they had 5 minutes earlier. The celebrity attorney held the document as if it might explode. For several long seconds, nobody spoke. My brother was the first to break the silence. "Well?" he asked. The lawyer didn't answer. Instead, he turned another page. Then another. The judge extended his hand. "May I see it?" The attorney hesitated. That hesitation alone was enough to make the entire courtroom uneasy. A man who had entered the room overflowing with confidence was suddenly acting like he'd discovered a shark in a swimming pool. The judge carefully reviewed the document. His eyebrows rose. Then they rose even higher. My brother laughed nervously. "What's so interesting?" Still nobody answered him. At this point, I was becoming curious myself. "Is something wrong?" I asked. The attorney looked at me. "How many copies of this agreement exist?" I shrugged. "No idea." "You never read it?" "No." The lawyer closed his eyes briefly. It looked like he was silently questioning every career choice that had brought him to this moment. The document turned out to be an ownership transfer agreement signed by my father nearly 20 years earlier. According to the paperwork, the property my brother was fighting over had already been legally reassigned. Not to him. To me. The agreement included witness signatures, official registration stamps, property references. Everything. Apparently my father had been extremely thorough. The celebrity attorney flipped through supporting documents attached behind the agreement. Every page made his expression worse. My brother finally stood. "What does it say?" The lawyer motioned for him to sit down. That was the first moment genuine panic appeared on my brother's face. The legal team gathered together and began whispering urgently. One assistant started checking digital records. Another reviewed old filings. A third looked like she wanted to disappear entirely. Across the courtroom, my girlfriend watched the chaos unfold. Unlike everyone else, she was smiling. Her species processed information incredibly quickly. She had figured out the situation before anyone explained it. When our eyes met, she gave me a small thumbs up. I returned a confused shrug. The judge spent several minutes reviewing additional records. Each new document seemed to confirm the same thing. The property legally belonged to me. Not partially. Completely. My brother's expensive lawsuit was rapidly transforming into a disaster. The attorney requested a recess. Then another. Then another. Each request was granted. Each return looked worse than the previous one. By the third recess, spectators were openly whispering. The mood had completely changed. Earlier, everyone had assumed I was about to be crushed. Now they were watching professionals scramble for answers. My brother finally cornered his attorney during one break. Even from across the room, I could hear pieces of the conversation. "Fix it. We can't." "What do you mean we can't?" "The documents are valid. There has to be something." The attorney rubbed his forehead. "We were supposed to win a property dispute. And? This is no longer a property dispute." My brother looked horrified. Meanwhile, my girlfriend walked over and sat beside me. "You know," she said casually, "if this keeps going your way, you might become rich." "I doubt it. You literally own the property." "Maybe." She laughed. "Humans are unbelievable." "What?" "You accidentally found the winning evidence in a grocery bag. I prefer to think of it as unconventional legal storage." She leaned closer. "When this is over, you're buying dinner." I smiled. "I have coupons." That made her laugh so hard several people turned around to stare. Across the room, my brother looked ready to faint. The celebrity attorney looked exhausted. The assistants looked terrified. The judge looked increasingly unimpressed. And somehow I remained the most relaxed person in the building because I still didn't fully understand why everyone suddenly seemed so sick. What I did know was this. For the first time in my life, my brother wasn't smiling anymore. And that was almost worth the trip to court by itself. The final ruling arrived later that afternoon. By then, the atmosphere inside the courtroom had completely transformed. Hours earlier, people had gathered expecting to watch an easy victory for my brother. Now they were waiting to witness the conclusion of a disaster nobody had anticipated. The judge adjusted his glasses and reviewed the final paperwork one last time. The room became silent. Even my brother stopped fidgeting. The celebrity attorney sat motionless, looking like a man who had aged 10 years in a single afternoon. "The court has reached its decision." Every eye in the room focused on the judge. After a brief summary of the evidence, he delivered the verdict. The property belonged to me. The transfer agreement was valid. The supporting records were valid. The registration was valid. Every challenge raised by my brother's legal team had failed. The ownership dispute was officially over. My brother lost. Completely. The judge also ordered him to cover substantial legal expenses resulting from the failed lawsuit. The silence lasted almost 3 full seconds. Then whispers erupted throughout the courtroom. I blinked. That was it? After months of arguments, threats, and family drama, everything ended because of a document I had discovered in a dusty box. I slowly turned toward my brother. He looked like someone had unplugged his soul. His expensive suit suddenly didn't seem very impressive. The celebrity attorney stared at the table. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Then I remembered how everyone had laughed at my grocery bag. My girlfriend leaned closer. "You won." I noticed. "No, I mean you really won." I smiled. "Good." The judge gathered his papers and prepared to leave. Before he could, a question popped into my head. I raised my hand. The judge looked surprised. "Yes?" I pointed toward my brother and his legal team. "Why does everybody keep looking sick?" For 1 second nobody reacted. Then laughter exploded across the courtroom. The judge laughed. The spectators laughed. Even a few court employees laughed. My girlfriend laughed so hard she nearly slid out of her chair. My brother did not laugh. He stood abruptly and stormed toward the exit. The attorney followed behind him looking defeated. As soon as they were gone, something even funnier happened. Several relatives suddenly approached me. The same relatives who had spent months predicting my failure. The same relatives who laughed when my brother mocked me. Now they were smiling. Offering congratulations. Praising my determination. Talking about family unity. It was an incredible performance. A little late, but incredible. I politely thanked them and escaped before they could become too enthusiastic. Outside the courthouse, fresh air never felt so good. My girlfriend wrapped an arm around mine as we walked down the steps. "I told you everything would work out." "You absolutely did not." "I strongly implied it." "You laughed at me." "I did." We both laughed. For the first time all day, the stress was gone. The property was mine. The lawsuit was over. And somehow I had survived the entire experience without understanding most of the legal terminology. As we reached the parking lot, I stopped walking. My girlfriend looked at me curiously. "What?" I glanced toward the property that had caused so much trouble. "I've been thinking. That's dangerous. I want to renovate the place." She nodded. "It has potential. I was hoping you'd help." Her smile softened. "I'd love to." I took a breath. "Actually, I was hoping you'd do more than help." She tilted her head. "What are you asking?" "I'm asking if you'd move in with me." For a moment, her eyes widened. Then she smiled. The answer came immediately. "Yes." The happiness on her face was worth more than the property itself. We started walking again. Halfway to the car, I remembered the grocery bag. Curious, I opened it and looked inside. Hundreds of old papers remained. Near the bottom, I found several documents I hadn't examined yet. I pulled them out. At that exact moment, the celebrity attorney happened to be walking through the parking lot. His eyes landed on the papers. The color immediately drained from his face again. He froze. Then he quickly turned around and walked in the opposite direction. I watched him leave. My girlfriend started laughing. "What now?" I held up the papers. "I honestly have no idea." And for the second time that day, a lawyer looked terrified because of documents I hadn't even bothered reading yet. Sometimes life rewards preparation. Sometimes it rewards intelligence. And sometimes, apparently, it rewards carrying 20 years of forgotten paperwork inside a grocery bag.